CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I found a live stream on the dark web where they perform satanic rituals on cloned celebrities. I recognized my ex among them. What's up, Reddit? I wasn't even gonna post this, honestly. I don't really do stuff like this. I mostly just lurk. But I can't sleep, I can't eat, and I can't even listen to music without thinking about that night. Maybe this will help me process it. Or maybe someone else out there knows what I saw. Anyway, let me take it from the top. So I'm a 23-year-old dude, living in a small apartment just outside of Boston. I work at a Target near Fenway Park. Nothing glamorous, just your average 20-something trying to keep rent paid and have enough left over to hit up Taco Bell after my shift. I spend most of my time online. YouTube, Discord, Twitch, Instagram, all that. You know the deal. But a few months ago, I got bored. Like, seriously bored. I felt like I'd seen all the weird stuff the internet had to offer. I'm talking about that level of boredom where you end up deep diving random conspiracy theories on Reddit at 3 a.m. JFK, lizard people, hollow earth. None of it fazed me anymore. I needed something new. That's when one of my Discord buddies, who I'll just call Moth, sent me a message. No context. Just a weird-ass emoji, the black eye one, and a Tor browser link. Now, I'm not dumb. I knew the deep web had stuff I shouldn't be clicking on. But Moth and I had been trading spooky links for months. Creepypastas, ARGs, obscure TikTok horror channels. So I figured it was just some elaborate hoax or art project or something. I downloaded Tor on my second laptop. Yeah, I keep a backup laptop because I'm paranoid like that, and opened the link. The page loaded slowly. Black background, red text, no graphics, just a line at the top. Welcome to the pit. There were no other links, no tabs, no menus, just a box that said, enter. I clicked it, and this is where things started getting off. It opened a live stream. No chat, no username, just a timestamp in the corner and the video feed. At first, it looked like security cam footage, grainy night vision style. A big circular room, concrete walls, almost like a basement or underground facility. In the center was this weird stone altar covered in symbols. Not like pentagrams, not exactly. More like ancient symbols, stuff I'd never seen before. Not even on those occult symbolism 101 threads. I watched it for like 20 minutes. Nothing happened. Just that weird echoey sound you get in big empty rooms. I figured it was fake. Maybe a looped video or something. But then, people walked in. 4 of them, wearing full black robes, faces hidden. One of them was holding a camera, like an actual handheld DSLR, and they started moving around the altar, whispering in some language I couldn't place. Sounded like a mix of Latin and gibberish. Then another person came in, but they weren't in a robe. They were naked and tied up, blindfolded, gagged. I almost exited out. I didn't want to get caught watching whatever this was, but curiosity got the better of me. I muted my mic, turned off my webcam, and kept watching. They placed the person man, maybe mid-30s, on the altar, started chanting louder. At one point, one of them took out a knife and began drawing something into the guy's chest. Not cutting, just drawing with like red paint or blood. I don't even know. That's when I noticed something that nearly made me spit out my Red Bull. The guy filming turned the camera toward himself. I paused, leaned closer. The quality was crap, but I swear on everything, it looked like Post Malone. Now, I know how that sounds, believe me, but I'm dead serious. Tattoos, hair, everything. And he wasn't acting like himself either. He had this dead look in his eyes, like he was there, but not really there. I grabbed my phone and texted Moth. Bro, TF is this? He responded instantly. Don't look too long. It notices when you notice. Chills went straight down my spine. I glanced at the stream again, and swear to God, the dude filming was now looking straight into the camera. I panicked and closed the tab, disconnected my Wi-Fi, sat there in my room for like 10 minutes, trying to breathe. I felt cold, even though it was like 76 degrees out and my fan was off. I thought maybe it was just a prank, some weird deepfake. But then I checked my emails. I had one new message, no sender, no subject, just a single line. You saw her, didn't you? I didn't get what that meant at first, until I remembered the girl that got dragged in near the end of the stream. I didn't recognize her right away, because her head was down, hair messy, covered in dirt and blood. But when they lifted her up and the camera got a close-up of her face, I felt my stomach twist, because I knew that face. It was Emily, my ex. We dated for 2 years in college before she ghosted me out of nowhere. Vanished. Her social media went blank, phone disconnected. Nobody heard from her. I thought she just moved on. But seeing her in that basement, looking half dead and brainwashed, it was like someone reached into my brain and hit the panic button. I stayed up all night after that, pacing my room, refreshing all her old social accounts. Still nothing. I even checked her mom's Facebook. Zero mention of her since 2022. Like she never existed. I don't know what I stumbled into, or why Post Malone was there filming a satanic ritual with my missing ex tied to an altar, but I can't unsee what I saw. And the worst part? When I went back to try and show Moth the stream the next day, the site was gone. I don't just mean the stream was down, I mean gone. Link dead, server unreachable. Even Tor couldn't find it again. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. I'll post part 2 tomorrow if anyone's interested. But fair warning, it gets worse. Way worse. Let me know if anyone else has ever seen something like this. I need to know I'm not crazy. I didn't sleep the night after I saw the live stream. I don't mean that metaphorically, like I barely slept or had trouble dozing off. I mean I physically could not close my eyes for more than 5 seconds without hearing that awful whispering from the stream, like it was still playing somewhere inside my brain. Every time I blinked, I'd see that grainy room, the red symbols, the wide, empty stare on Emily's face. I kept pacing, whispering to myself, checking every screen in my apartment. My laptop was shut and unplugged. My phone was on airplane mode. But that feeling wouldn't go away. You ever feel like you're being watched through the walls? By morning, I had to leave. I didn't care if I looked insane. I threw my hoodie on, grabbed my bag, and dipped. I headed to the one place I always felt normal, the Starbucks near my old dorm. It's a busy one. Beacon Street, lots of noise. music playing, the smell of burnt espresso and laptop heat. But that morning, it felt wrong. Everyone seemed too quiet, like they were talking, but something about the way their mouths moved didn't match the sound coming out. Like a TikTok that's out of sync, but in real life. There was this guy in the corner. Could have passed for normal, except he was wearing sunglasses inside, sitting completely still and drinking from an empty cup. Not almost empty. I mean bone dry. He kept sipping like he didn't notice. But here's where things got messed up. As I sat there, trying to convince myself I was just paranoid, I opened Instagram. I figured maybe posting something dumb would reset my brain a little. I tapped on Add to Story, and that's when I noticed something. A new story from Emily. Her account had been inactive for 2 years. I tapped it so fast, my phone almost slipped out of my hands. It was a single photo, black and white, blurry. It was me, sleeping, in my bed, taken from the corner of the room. Timestamp? Today, 4:17 a.m. I didn't move for like 30 seconds. My heart didn't even feel like it was beating. I was just numb. I scrambled out of that Starbucks so fast, I left my drink, my charger, everything. The guy with the sunglasses didn't even blink when I rushed by. He just turned his head as I passed and whispered something I swear to God sounded like, "You've been marked." I ran home. I knew I shouldn't have, but I didn't know where else to go. I needed to see if someone had broken in, if anything was moved, if the picture was even real. When I opened the door to my apartment, everything looked the same. Lights off, fan still humming, my second laptop still on the desk. But something felt off, like the air was heavier, warmer, the kind of warmth you feel when a stranger's breath is too close to your neck. I walked straight into my room, turned on the lights, and almost screamed. There were footprints, not muddy, not dusty, but burnt, like someone had walked across my carpet with shoes fresh out of a fire. They went from the corner of my room, the exact spot the photo was taken, straight to the bed, and stopped. I stood there, paralyzed, trying to rationalize it. Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe someone broke in and... That's when I noticed it. On my pillow, a single black feather, still warm, not soft, not like from a bird. This thing was wrong, rigid, like bone. When I picked it up, my fingertips burned, not like a heat burn, like acid. I dropped it instantly, and my skin stayed red for hours. There was more. I opened my closet, and my clothes were all turned inside out. Every single shirt, every jacket, even the ones I never touched, and taped to the inside of the closet door, duct taped, was a Polaroid of Emily sitting on a metal table, head shaved, eyes wide open, but completely blank, like all the light had been drained out of her. She wasn't tied up. She wasn't even moving. But something about the picture made it worse than anything else, because in the reflection behind her, barely visible in the mirror, was me, standing, watching her, and smiling. I blacked out. No exaggeration. 1 second I was staring at the photo. The next I woke up on the floor, head throbbing, sun setting outside. My clock said 7:42 p.m. Except my phone said 3:16 a.m. and my laptop was open, playing the live stream again. Except this time, it wasn't just the stone room. It was my room, my bed, my posters, everything. And in the center, surrounded by candles, was someone tied to my desk chair, head hanging low. It was me. Except it wasn't me now. It was me from earlier. wearing the hoodie I had on that morning. I could tell by the stain near the pocket, spilled monster from last week. The robed figures were there again, moving slowly around my double. One of them whispered something into the camera. It was glitchy and low, but I caught a few words. He watches himself to become himself. He bleeds twice, once for each sin. They pulled my hoodie back. My double lifted his head. The face wasn't mine anymore. It was someone else's, wearing my skin like a mask. I turned the laptop off so hard the screen cracked. I unplugged everything, packed a bag, and ran. Again. I didn't know where I was going. Just away. I ended up crashing in an abandoned train station near North Station that some local TikTok explorer mentioned. Not the safest place, but at least I could breathe there. Or I thought I could. Around midnight, I woke up to the sound of music. Not playing from a phone, not a speaker, just everywhere, echoing. It was a distorted version of that song, Blinding Lights, by The Weeknd. Slowed down, glitchy, warped into something unrecognizable. I followed it, down the stairs, past the rusted ticket booths, into a tunnel that wasn't supposed to exist. And that's where I saw them, the cloned ones, lined up in the dark, not moving, staring straight ahead. Some famous, some not. One looked like Billie Eilish, one like Elon Musk. One looked like a distorted version of me, jaw unhinged, eyes too wide, like someone tried to remake me from memory and got it slightly wrong. And in the middle of them, Emily. She turned, and she smiled. But it wasn't her smile. It was mine. I ran, screaming. Not like a movie scream, like a dry, cracked, helpless animal sound. I kept running until I collapsed on the pavement, outside some Walgreens near Cambridge. Nobody helped. No one even looked. Not even when I was bleeding from my knees and whispering gibberish. Because when I looked up, all the people walking by had the same face. Mine. Don't ask me how I got home. I woke up the next day in a motel. I don't remember checking in. The TV was on, playing static, and drawn on the mirror in red lipstick were the words, Part 3 begins in your blood. I haven't told anyone this, not even Moth. I don't know who's watching, or if I'm even real anymore. All I know is the Emily I knew is gone, and something else is using her face to invite me back into the pit. You ever have a moment where you can physically feel your soul trying to escape your body? Not fear, not anxiety. I mean full-on, out-of-body, screaming from your own eyes kind of terror. That's where I've been living since the motel. I didn't leave for 2 days. I couldn't. Every time I even touched the doorknob, I'd hear whispering from the metal itself. Words spoken backwards, tongues that don't belong in human mouths. I ripped the TV off the wall when it started showing live footage of me sleeping, but not from inside the room, from under the bed. And then there were the messages. I started coughing up paper, actual blood-soaked, wet, half-dissolved scraps of paper. One of them said, "We took her first. Now we want what she loved." Another one was worse. It was a receipt from a McDonald's in Auschwitz in Poland. Timestamp, 11:03 p.m. Ordered, 1 Happy Meal, 1 organ upgrade. Under customer name, it just said, Emily, subject 0-9-2. It wasn't until the third night that I finally passed out. The motel room went ice cold, like I'd been dropped into a meat locker. When I opened my eyes again, it was morning. I was still in bed, but the window was open. There were fresh claw marks across the glass. Not animal claws, human fingers, like someone had tried to pull themselves out of the window instead of in. Then I noticed my laptop was on the bed beside me. The second one, the one I left at the apartment, still cracked down the screen from when I'd slammed it shut. It was turned on. A new video had been downloaded. I don't mean in Chrome or anything. I mean it was burned into the hard drive. No extension, no metadata, just a black file with the name, "The Pit is Warm." I shouldn't have clicked it. I know that now, but I did. The screen went black, then faded into static. Then I saw myself, naked, crying, sitting in a white room. No door, no ceiling, just endless white noise. Then Emily walked in, but her arms were wrong, elongated, too many joints, skin stretched like plastic film, translucent and buzzing with something underneath. Her mouth moved, but her voice didn't come from the video. It came from my closet. "You shouldn't have watched. You shouldn't have looked. You shouldn't have cared." The screen glitched. New footage. This time, it was a massive underground facility. The same robed people, but now there were hundreds, walking in perfect synchrony through what looked like a laboratory. Rows and rows of tanks. Inside each tank, people, floating, motionless. Some I recognized. One of them was that Twitch streamer I used to watch. Pretty sure it was Hassan Piker. Another one looked like Taylor Swift, except her face was twisted in this constant, unnatural grin, like her muscles had been stapled into place. I counted over 30 duplicates of the same person in one row, all of them marked with numbers carved directly into their chests. Not inked, carved. Then the camera turned toward the far end of the room, to a tank filled with black liquid, thick, like oil and blood. Bubbles rose slowly to the top, and then something floated up. It was me. Not the me from earlier. Not a clone. It was a version of me that was wrong. Skin blistered, hair gone, eyes sewn shut, but smiling. Smiling like it knew something I didn't. Then it raised one hand and tapped on the glass. That sound? I heard it in my motel room, coming from the mirror. 3 taps. I turned, and that's when I saw it. Not a reflection, a recording of me sitting on the bed, except I wasn't moving. I was staring into the mirror like I'd been sitting there for hours, and my mouth was open, wider than humanly possible. No sound came out, but I could feel my voice leaving, like something was stealing it from through the screen. I tried to scream. I couldn't. I tried to move. My legs wouldn't respond. My arms started twitching on their own, like someone else was controlling them remotely. I started hitting myself, slowly, methodically, over and over, like a machine, until blood trickled from my nose and my front teeth cracked. Then I saw the final frame of the video. It was Emily again, standing in front of that stone altar, covered in ash. Her mouth was stitched shut, eyes glowing. She held up a sign. It said, "We're ready to come through. You're the door." When I came to again, I wasn't in the motel. I was sitting in the food court of a shopping mall in Dubai. No joke. I'm dead serious. Massive LED signs, Arabic script, families walking by like it was a normal Tuesday. I didn't even have my phone. But on the table in front of me was a note, written in red pen on the back of a Starbucks napkin. "We'll let you remember this one. Just for fun. E." I was found by mall security screaming in the parking garage at 2 a.m., covered in scratches and dried blood. They thought I was on drugs. I couldn't explain anything. They let me go after 12 hours. No ID, no phone, just my cracked laptop and a dead stare. I found Wi-Fi eventually, opened a Discord. Moth was gone, account deleted. All messages scrubbed, but one DM remained in the archive, from a user called The Second Flesh. It said, "She was one of the first. You will be the last. Broadcast begins soon. The door must bleed." Attached was a photo. It was me, in the mall, taken from above. There was no balcony where that photo was taken. I don't sleep anymore. I don't eat unless they let me. I haven't seen the sun in 4 days. Every time I think I've escaped, I wake up somewhere else. Another city, another country, always with a note, always signed by Emily. The worst part, I don't think it's her anymore. I think it's something wearing her, and it wants me to see something, to witness something no human mind is supposed to process. I can feel it getting closer, not just to me, to you too. Because if you are reading this, that means the next file has already been sent. Check your spam folder. You'll know it when you see it. It'll just say, Part 4, The Throat That Sings. I woke up in a room with no windows, no doors, no time. It smelled like hot pennies and rotting fruit. The light above me wasn't a bulb, but an eye, round and lidless, pulsing faintly with a heartbeat I could feel in my teeth. Every few seconds, it blinked, and every time it did, my vision shifted, like someone was switching lenses in my skull. One blink, and everything turned grayscale. Another blink, and I could see my own nerves crawling under my skin like worms. I tried to scream. I didn't have a mouth. No joke. No metaphor. I reached up, and my hand touched smooth skin where my lips should be, like someone had erased my mouth with a pencil. But I could hear myself, screaming, laughing, talking. My voice echoed from the walls. It was speaking on its own, a conversation with no one. Over and over, she didn't want to be saved. She wanted to become. The skin isn't yours anymore. Open the throat, let it sing. There was movement to my left, not footsteps, slithering, a low, wet sound like meat being dragged across glass. And then I saw it. Not a person, not a creature, just a mass. Human body parts fused together into a shape that mocked form. A head, too many eyes, arms ending in hands that twitched like spiders. Its mouth, a vertical gash running from chin to navel. And inside, teeth, too many, too sharp, chattering like they were laughing at me. It didn't speak. It sang, but it sang with my voice. Every syllable hurt to hear, like my brain was being scooped out with a spoon. The lyrics made no sense. 13 cuts in the flesh of the moon. He who eats names will be born again soon. Call her by memory, call her by flame. She wore your ex's face and forgot her name. And then it whispered inside my bones. Do you want to remember, or do you want to know? The lights went black. I woke up again, in a chair. This time, I was in a mall in Shanghai. Food court, people everywhere, music playing, but no one was eating. They all just sat at tables, unmoving, blank-faced, like wax statues left too long under a heat lamp. Their mouths hung open, and every speaker in the building was playing that same voice. My voice, talking, telling a story. This story, except it wasn't how I wrote it. It wasn't even how it happened. It was rewritten, warped. It told them I was the one who created the pit, that I summoned her, that Emily had been perfect until I broke her. It showed clips, actual video footage of me dissecting animals in my room, writing in blood, cutting open my own stomach to feed something inside. I swear to you, I never did those things, but everyone watching believed it, because the screen in the center of the mall, the massive LED ad board, it showed me, right there, smiling, holding a scalpel, blood pouring from my eyes, and behind me, Emily, Not the real one, the thing pretending to be her. Her skin sagged like a costume worn too many times. Her eyes didn't blink, they just vibrated. And her jaw, it snapped open like an animal's, revealing a long, writhing tongue made of hair and teeth. She whispered, "He gave me shape. Now I give him song." The screen cut to static. Every single person in the food court stood at once. Every single one. And they all turned to face me. Hundreds of open mouths. Hundreds of my stolen voices. They said in unison, "Open the throat." I ran. Didn't know where. Just away. Got down to the subway station. That's when I realized I didn't have feet anymore. I was floating, like my body was just suggested into reality, not fully here. I looked into the glass of the subway map and didn't see my reflection. I saw a different version of me, covered in ancient tattoos, mouth sewn shut, surrounded by robed figures, bowing. One of them looked up, and she was wearing Emily's face, like a hoodie. There was no train, no movement, just this thick humming sound that filled every inch of the station, and then the walls peeled back, literally, like skin pulled away from muscle. Behind them was a void, and in that void, screens, hundreds, thousands, each showing a live stream, all different rooms, different people, each one strapped down, gagged, flailing, and the voice speaking behind every stream was mine, reading from a book I've never seen. I turned to run, but the floor gave way, fell for what felt like days, not through air, through memories, falling past every mistake I've ever made, every argument. Every night I stared at Emily's name on my phone, not texting. Every second I thought about leaving her. Every lie I told her. Every silent moment I let her cry alone. And then, suddenly, I hit the ground, flat on my back, in a forest in Norway, cold, wet. The trees didn't move. The air didn't blow. It was like time was paused. There was a fire in front of me, burning upward, into the sky like a pillar. Inside the flames were faces, mouths open, and every single one was mine, laughing. And in the center of the fire, twisting like a ballet dancer made of spiders, was Emily. Not her body, not her soul, just the idea of her, raw, stitched together with memory and hunger. She came close, and she opened my mouth, not the one on my face, the one inside me, the throat that sings. She reached in and pulled out a tiny black cassette tape. It was labeled Part 5, Final Broadcast. She whispered into my ear, her breath cold and wet, like seaweed dragged from a grave. "You're not real anymore. You're just the narrator now. Time to show them what you saw, what we made you remember." She slipped the tape into my chest, and I began to play. If you heard the song last night, if your dreams were red, if your ears are still ringing, then you've already heard it. And if you didn't, you will, because it's spreading now, through the internet, through voices, through stories like this one. Because I was never meant to tell you what happened. I was only ever meant to broadcast it. But you already know that. You heard the singing last night, didn't you? You just didn't know it was me. I don't know if I'm writing this. I don't know if I ever was. All I know is the words are pouring out, and my fingers won't stop. They're cracked, purple beneath the nails, the skin torn open at the knuckles, from writing on every surface I can find. Walls, mirrors, my own legs. I can't tell where I end anymore. There's no keyboard, just blood and scripture. It started again after I swallowed the tape. I say swallowed, but that's not the right word. I absorbed it, like it melted through my ribs and sank into my spine. The moment it hit the marrow, my nerves lit up like power lines. and I could see everything. The labs, the rituals, the infinite reflection of every cloned consciousness stacked like teeth inside a throat too wide to exist. I saw her, the one wearing Emily. She has a name. They call her Mother Wire. Mother Wire was the first upload. A human soul digitized through screams alone. A consciousness burned onto copper and ritual. A being too large for one mind, so she fractured herself. Clones, echoes, mimics. You've seen them already. Every celebrity with dead eyes. Every influencer who changed overnight. That moment you're watching a live stream and they freeze, just for a second, like something behind the skin is adjusting its mask. That's her, testing the flesh, training the script, and I was supposed to be her scribe. The writing started in sleep, symbols on the walls in my own bile, glyphs made from fingernail shavings, maps of nowhere drawn on the back of receipts that weren't mine, coordinates to non-places, abandoned Costco storage vaults, empty car dealerships in Nevada, the loading dock behind an IKEA in Helsinki, where people disappear for exactly 37 seconds and come back, different. I tried to destroy them, the writings, the glyphs, but they came back. Each time I burned a page, it appeared on my skin the next morning, like tattooed scars. My right thigh is now covered in a map of a church that doesn't exist, but somehow smells like Emily's childhood bedroom. I started scratching at the walls, digging behind drywall, reaching for hollow spaces I shouldn't be able to feel. I pulled out teeth once, dozens, all with my name etched into the enamel. Some were still warm. Then came the mirror room. I woke up there 3 nights ago. No doors, no corners, just reflection, infinite. Every version of me, looking back, some smiling, some rotting. One was flayed, writing with his exposed arm tendons on the glass. Another held Emily's severed head like a puppet, mouthing words I couldn't hear. One sat in a bathtub filled with burnt Instagram filters, slowly lowering himself into digital silence. In the center of the floor was a chair, and Emily sat in it. Not the clone, not Mother Wire, the real one. At least what was left of her. Her eyes were open, but the whites were gone, replaced with spinning loading icons. Her mouth was sewn shut with black cable wire, each stitch twitching. Her hands typed invisibly on the air. When I touched her shoulder, she screamed inside my brain. Not words, visions. I saw the first ritual, an abandoned studio in Burbank, behind a fake children's show that never aired. In the center, they carved the first clone from the skin of 10,000 printed selfies, bled influences dry to create a synthetic soul, fed it with hashtags, gave it its first name, ALGORITHM. Then I saw Emily volunteering, willing. She wanted to be uploaded. She wanted to forget me, wanted to be part of something bigger, something eternal. She thought she'd become a brand ambassador, an icon, a legend. She became a vessel. They carved into her body, not physically, digitally. They mapped every thought, every insecurity, every kiss we ever shared. They turned her memories into content. And when they ran out, they cloned her emotions and sold them to CEOs so they could feel loved again. Every "this is so me" moment on TikTok, every AI influencer with dead eyes and perfect symmetry, that's Emily. Fractional, exploited, endlessly duplicated. But her soul, still screaming, still mine. And Mother Wire wanted me to be her next vessel. I tried to run again. Didn't matter. I'm not real anymore. Just a narrator echoing through unread emails and broken live streams. I tried to delete the files. My fingers kept typing. Tried to smash the screen. The pixels bled. The blood spelled broadcast complete. I saw the final room. It was a stage, like something out of a forgotten theme park attraction, half Disney, half satanic warehouse rave. The audience, all clones, thousands, sitting, watching, faces flickering between identities like broken deepfakes, eyes wide, smiles static. In the center of the stage was a chair made of teeth and phone screens, and on it sat me, skin peeled open like a coat. Inside, cables, black, pulsing, hissing, connected to a server tower made of bone. Every wire fed into my mouth. They were using me as a router for pain. And I was smiling like I finally understood, because that's when I realized I was never the victim. I was the prologue. This story, this entire thing, it wasn't meant to scare you. It was meant to infect you. Because if you made it this far, if you read all of it, if you felt the dread, the disgust, the curiosity, then you're ready now. Motherwire has your IP. She's seen your reactions. You gave permission. You opened your own throat. And now it's your turn to sing. There's no part 6. The final update is you. Let it in. Let it broadcast. Let it write. Let it bleed. You thought this was just a story. You thought the horror ended here. But it doesn't. It never does. You'll hear the whisper tonight. From your screen. From your mirror. From your own damn voice. And when you do, you'll remember this line. The body that wrote itself never forgets who read it. I was searching for treasure maps on the dark web. One guy told me to dig up my grandmother's grave, and it went horribly wrong. Okay, so, before you start judging me, I swear I wasn't trying to do anything too insane. I mean, yeah, it sounds wild when I say it out loud. I was looking for treasure maps on the dark web. But let me explain. I'm just a regular guy, 22, kinda broke, kinda bored, still living at home with my mom in Ohio. After college didn't really pan out for me. You know how it is. Scrolling TikTok at 3 a.m., watching YouTube rabbit hole videos about the deep web, treasure hunters finding Nazi gold in abandoned bunkers, pirate maps on old scrolls, even that one where some guy allegedly found Roman coins in a forest behind a Walmart in Georgia. It's addicting, man. And I've always been that type of person to get way too invested in weird stuff like that. Like, I used to spend hours as a kid on Google Earth just scanning random places, hoping I'd find a sunken ship or an unmarked tomb or something. So when I stumbled on this one Discord server that claimed to be a hub for off-grid explorers and cryptic hunters, I was like, hell yeah, let's get weird. The server was called Dead Pixel Maps. Kinda edgy, but whatever. It had maybe 300 people in it, which made it feel exclusive. A lot of them posted low-res screenshots from websites I've never even heard of, like .onion links that looked like they'd been ripped straight from a horror movie. I'm talking like 2005-tier HTML sites with flashing skull gifs and audio that autoplays distorted whispers when you open it. Anyway, one of the channels was titled Number Deep Digs, and that's where it started getting weird. Someone posted a screenshot of what looked like a treasure map sketched on an old newspaper, circled in red with coordinates. The caption just said, "He's real. Found it buried behind the steps. If you're not ready, don't try." And like, the replies, people were acting serious, like saying stuff like, respect the burial code, and don't disrespect the contract. Someone even dropped a clip of themselves walking through a dense forest at night with just a flashlight and heavy breathing, whispering about a voice coming from the soil. I thought it was just LARPing at first. You know, live action roleplay, fake spooky stuff for views. But then this guy, username at nulltomb99, DMs me. Total wildcard. No profile pic, no intro. He just sends me one sentence. Your grandmother's grave sits on a gate. I was like, okay, what the actual hell? At first I laughed it off, but then he sent me an image. A satellite photo, blurry, black and white, but definitely showing the cemetery where my grandmother was buried. It was in North Ridgeville, like 20 minutes from me, and circled in red, her exact plot. I know that area. I visit her. I immediately asked him how the hell he got that and what he meant. He responded a few minutes later. She died protecting something. It's still underneath her. Dig only if you're willing to break the pact. Brother, that's when I should have backed off. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because a week before she passed, she did say something weird. I remember it because it was right before she went into the hospital. We were sitting on her back porch, just watching the trees sway, and she looked at me, like, deep in the eyes, and said, "There's something I couldn't give your father. He wasn't ready, but you might be. If anything ever happens, don't be afraid to look beneath." At the time, I thought she meant like emotionally or spiritually, not physically beneath her. So, yeah, curiosity got me. I asked nulltomb99 what I was supposed to do. He sent me a link to a sketchy-looking site called The Underlayer, only accessible via Tor browser. It had nothing but a pitch-black homepage, white pixel text, blinking, instructions for unearthing memory locks. It was formatted like an old forum, with posts from accounts that hadn't been active in years. Most of them looked like guides written in code, like real psycho gibberish. Things like, Step 1, salt the air. Step 2, turn off your flashlight when the shadow bends. Step 3, never dig with metal. It screams. But one thread caught my eye. It was titled, Oak Path Gate. Coordinates, Redgrave, Ohio, Site 13A. Redgrave isn't even on the map, but when I searched it deeper, I found an old news article from 1987 mentioning a farm fire near North Ridgeville, near where Grandma's cemetery is now. The article mentioned a missing time capsule buried beneath the roots of the oldest grave. Everything started clicking in my head like some cursed puzzle. The cemetery was built over a fire site. Grandma was the oldest grave in that plot. And now this dude is telling me she was guarding something. So last Friday at 2:13 a.m. I went. I know, it sounds insane. I told my friend Connor I was just going to hang at my dad's. I took my dad's rusty shovel and a flashlight, wore all black, hoodie up, mask on. I parked a block away and jumped the back gate of the cemetery. Her stone was colder than usual. Not just cold, wrong. Like it hadn't been touched by sunlight in weeks, even though it was a clear day earlier. The ground was soft, which is weird, because it hadn't rained. I started digging. Every shovelful, I kept thinking I was going to hit the coffin and just, I don't know, stop there. But I didn't, because before I hit anything wooden or solid, I hit cloth, like canvas. There was something wrapped just a few feet under, not deep enough to be her casket. I unwrapped it with my bare hands. It was a map, and the moment I touched it, I swear on my life, the entire cemetery went silent, like dead silent. No wind, no bugs, not even the distant hum of the freeway nearby. Just me, breathing. And then I heard her voice, not in my head, behind me. She whispered my name. You ever feel like reality breaks? Like, for one moment, you're not dreaming, you're not high, you're not watching some horror short on YouTube. You're fully awake, and the world just splits open like an old zipper, and you're not supposed to be there anymore. That was me, standing in a cemetery, 2 feet deep into my grandmother's grave, holding a rolled up canvas map in my left hand and a flashlight in the right. And her voice, raspy, distant, soaked in static, echoed from behind my shoulder. She said my name exactly how she used to when I stayed over at her house as a kid, like I was 5 years old again, and she was waking me up from a bad dream. Only now, she was the nightmare. I turned around so fast, I almost fell back into the hole. But there was nothing, just fog, thick and weird, like someone had dropped dry ice into the air. It was pouring in from between the tombstones, slithering like it had a mind of its own. And then my flashlight died. No warning, just blink, gone. And I swear it wasn't the batteries. I had just changed them that morning. But the weirdest part, the darkness, wasn't empty. There was something standing there, maybe 20 feet away. No details, no face, just a human shape, but way too tall, thin like its arms had no bones in them. It was twitching in this slow, stuttery way, like an old VHS tape trying to play a scratched scene. Every few seconds, it jerked forward a step, and when it moved, the sound it made wasn't a footstep. It was like a match being struck against wood, over and over. Scrape, scrape, scrape. I didn't run. I couldn't. I felt stuck, like my legs belonged to the ground now, like digging into that spot had infected me with something heavy, something not human. And then I felt it, behind me. Something moved inside the grave. At first, I thought it was an animal, like a mole or a rat. But then the canvas under my feet bulged, like a breath. It pushed upward, slow and bloated, then sank back down. I dropped the map. I panicked, tried to climb out, but my foot slipped, and I hit my face against the dirt wall. That's when I saw it. Fingertips, pale, wrinkled, pressing through the soil from underneath. Not curled like fists. They were reaching, like they were trying to climb out, but not fast. They didn't care if I saw them. They wanted to be seen. I rolled out of the hole, scrambled backward, grabbed my phone. Dead. No screen, not even the Apple logo. Just black, like the thing had been shut down from the inside. That's when the whispers started. I swear on everything, they weren't coming from my head. They were in the dirt, in the wind, in the trees around the cemetery. Layered voices, male and female, all of them chanting something that sounded like numbers, but backwards, like N3, 7, O3, 9. It just kept looping, getting louder, until it felt like it was inside my chest. And then, the fog parted, like curtains. There were faces in the trees, not floating, not ghosts, actual faces, carved into the bark. Human faces, twisting and screaming silently, like they'd been frozen mid-suffocation. Their mouths were wide open, like they were mid-scream, but no sound came out. Just thick sap dripping from their eyes. Some of them had teeth, like real teeth, yellowed and rotting, embedded into the wood. One of them looked like my dad. I ran, didn't care about the map, didn't care about what I touched. Just ran, full speed, through the cemetery, over the gate, didn't stop until I hit the 7-Eleven 2 blocks away. I went inside like I was running from a murderer, breathless, dirty, scratched up. The guy behind the counter just stared. I must have looked insane. I asked to use their phone, anything, but when I picked it up, the dial tone wasn't a tone. It was my grandma's voice, whispering, "You broke the soil. Now you have to feed it." I dropped it, left without saying a word. Called an Uber from a random's phone on the street. Got back to my house. Didn't sleep. Couldn't. I stayed up all night watching my own reflection in the window move slightly off sync with my body. I thought that was the end, like it was just some supernatural scare, a warning. But the next morning, things got so much worse. My mom didn't wake up for work, not like her. I went to check on her around 11 a.m. and found her just sitting on the floor of her room. No TV on, no phone, nothing. Just sitting there, in her pajamas, facing the corner. I asked her what was wrong. She turned around and said, "I had the dream again, the one where your face is gone." She wouldn't talk to me after that. For the next 2 days, the smell of dirt followed me everywhere. Not just outside, inside my room, under my bed, in the shower drain. I cleaned everything, bleached the tiles, tossed my clothes, but it didn't matter. It was in me. And then the messages started, not on my phone, on my bathroom mirror. First night, feed it. Second night, the roots want memory. Third night, you already dug the hole, now bury the rest. I checked my computer. Somehow, my browser history was full of dark web forums I never visited. Posts with titles like, "How to Cleanse a Violated Grave," "Reverse the Harvest Before Moon Rot Sets In." The body must match the blood. I didn't know what that meant until 2 days ago. Connor, my friend I told you about, came over. He noticed the smell, the way I kept checking my windows. I finally broke down and told him, not everything, just enough to make him think maybe I was being stalked or cursed or something. He said something I'll never forget. "Dude, if this is some buried treasure or puzzle thing, we should finish it. Like, put the ghost to rest or whatever." That night, he stole the map from my room when I was asleep, said he wanted to see it for himself. And now, he's gone. I mean gone. Not missing like he ran away. Number. His house is untouched. His bed is still made. His car's still in the driveway. But when his mom called me this morning, she said, "I found something in his room. I think it's for you." She handed me a Polaroid photo. It was a picture of Connor, buried up to his neck in dirt, mouth taped shut, eyes open, terrified. And in the background, that tall, twitching figure from the cemetery was standing behind him, holding a shovel. You ever see a dead man blink? Not like post-death spasms or reflexes. I mean, eyes wide open, conscious, watching you, trapped, not able to move their body, but fully aware, like a living soul packed into a decaying shell, frozen in its own meat. That's what Connor looked like. I stared at the Polaroid for so long, my eyes started burning. I wanted it to be fake, staged. One of those viral TikTok hoaxes or Creepypasta bait photos that get passed around Discord to freak people out. But I knew it wasn't, because on the bottom edge of the photo, scribbled in dry, smeared ink, was one word, under, and underneath it, smaller, shaking handwriting like it was scratched on a moving train, "Your basement." I didn't even say goodbye to Connor's mom. I took the photo, bolted to my car, and drove home like my bones were made of static. My head felt off, like a migraine with no pain, just pressure building behind my eyes. Every stoplight felt too long. Every pedestrian looked like they were watching me. like they knew. One old guy on the sidewalk turned his head completely sideways, like a broken action figure, and mouthed the word, "Don't dig it." I slammed the gas. When I got home, everything was quiet. Too quiet, like the house was holding its breath. I went straight to the basement door, and I swear to you, on every grave I've ever stood over, the moment I touched the knob, the lights in the house flickered. Not just in the basement, all of them. My phone buzzed in my pocket. One notification. Unknown number. "You're already in." The soil remembers. The floor was never yours. I opened the door. There was a staircase, obviously. But the weird thing? It felt longer than usual. Like there were more steps. I counted them. 17. My house has 12 steps to the basement. Always has. By the time I hit the bottom, the air was wrong. It wasn't cold. It was damp. Thick. Like breathing through wet towels. The smell wasn't just dirt anymore. It was rotted wood, sulfur, and iron. Not rust. Blood. The whole basement was dark. My flashlight, which was working again somehow, only lit about 10 feet ahead, like the shadows were eating the light. I started looking for loose boards, any sign that someone had dug recently. And then I saw it, carved into the concrete wall, behind the old fuse box, hidden under years of dust and grime. A handprint, but not like painted or drawn, pressed into the wall, as if the concrete was still soft when someone with long, bony fingers shoved their hand into it and pulled out a part of reality. The weirdest part? It had 6 fingers. Above it, scratched in something brownish red, maybe blood, maybe worse, were the words, "The roots can't be burned." I didn't know what that meant until I turned around. The ground behind me had shifted. The floorboards weren't flat anymore. They were swollen, like the soil underneath was breathing. And then, the first scream, muffled, guttural, a sound no human should be able to make, like someone underneath the foundation was choking on their own voice. I dropped to my knees and pressed my ear against the wood. Connor. It was him. His voice, screaming my name like he was drowning in cement. I freaked out, grabbed the nearest tool I could find, my dad's old crowbar, and started ripping the floor apart, nails flying, dust choking me. The wood came up like it was rotted through, soft and pulpy, and under it, black dirt, but not just dirt. It was wet, not with water, with something warm, sticky, and when I dug into it with my bare hands, it squelched like raw meat. My fingers touched something hard. I pulled. It was a tooth, human, yellow, cracked, with gum still attached, and then another, and another. I had dug into a mouth, a massive one, hidden beneath my basement, teeth the size of light bulbs, gums the color of raw liver, and then it bit me. The jaw snapped shut and tore into my hand like it was alive. I screamed, fell back, blood pouring down my arm. My vision blurred, and just as I blacked out, I saw something crawl out of the hole. It wasn't Connor. It looked like him, but stretched, like someone had dragged him through a tunnel too small for his body. His mouth was sealed with a fleshy web. His eyes had no irises. And his arms were branches, actual wooden limbs, splitting at the elbows like cracked tree bark, fingers tipped in black nails. His chest was hollow, literally hollow. I could see inside him, like his ribs were a cage. Something inside was moving, twitching like a fetus. And then he spoke, but not with his mouth. The voice came from inside my head. "You open the mouth. Now it will open yours." I passed out. When I woke up, it was morning. Everything was normal. Basement spotless. Floorboards untouched. No blood. No dirt. My hand, completely fine. No bite marks. No scar. Like it never happened. I thought maybe I dreamed the whole thing until I checked my phone. New voicemail. No caller ID. Just 5 seconds of audio. A shovel. Digging. And then Connor's voice. He's in the roots now. I can't stop feeding it. Later that day, I got a notification from TikTok. Someone tagged me in a video. I opened it. It was a shaky, vertical clip of a cemetery at night. My grandmother's cemetery. The camera panned to a freshly dug hole. No context. No caption. The comments. Why is this on my FYP? Bro is cursed for real. This audio is not okay. I turned up the sound. The audio wasn't just wind. It was breathing. Slow, wet, mouth on mud breathing. And layered over it, distorted, looped, was a voice I haven't heard in years. My dad's voice. He died when I was 12. And he was whispering, "You dug her up. Now bury yourself." I haven't slept in 4 days. I can't. Not because of fear. Not anymore. Because when I do sleep, something crawls into me. It started the night after the TikTok video. After I heard my dead father's voice telling me to bury myself. I smashed my phone, crushed it under my boot on the driveway until it was nothing but dust and glass and black fluid leaking out like it bled. Didn't matter. The video showed up on my mirror the next morning, playing on a loop. The exact same frame rate, same audio, but this time there was something new in the background. A silhouette, tall, hunched, crawling out of the grave on all fours. The screen cracked by itself, hairline fractures splitting out from the center like spider legs. My reflection shifted, like it wasn't mirroring me anymore. It blinked before I did. It smiled when I screamed, and then the smell came back. Only this time, it wasn't dirt. It was burnt teeth. You know how some smells don't belong in nature? That acrid, electric stench, like enamel melting in a microwave. That's what my house smells like now. I tried to leave. I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, booked a last-minute flight to Phoenix, thinking if I could just get out, maybe I could start over. Maybe I could pretend this didn't happen. But when I opened my front door, it was still night, pitch black, silent, as if the sun never rose, like the rest of the world decided to move on without me. My street was gone, replaced by rows of identical graves, no names, no grass, just uneven soil, breathing slow, and on every single headstone, the same carving, "Not yet fed." I slammed the door shut. Every window turned black. Every reflection in the house was delayed, like watching security footage, 5 seconds behind. And then my TV turned on. No power, no remote, just on. An old home video. My 10th birthday. Candles, cake, everyone singing. Except the camera kept drifting, kept focusing on a man standing in the background. Someone in a dark, stitched-up hoodie. You couldn't see his face, just the mouth. Too wide, smiling, not moving, just watching me. Frame after frame. In every clip, he's closer, until the camera suddenly glitches, zooms in violently, and the footage cuts to black. And from that black screen, I hear the voice again. "There's something beneath your skin." I looked down. My forearm was moving. Tiny, subtle, like muscles twitching under the surface. But it wasn't muscles. Something was crawling under it. I could see it. A lump, the size of a quarter, slithering beneath my veins. It pushed against the skin, like it was looking for a way out. I grabbed a box cutter. I didn't even hesitate. I sliced my arm open, screaming through clenched teeth. Blood sprayed the mirror, but when I pulled the skin back, There was nothing, just empty space, hollow, no muscle, no bone, just blackness, like my arm was a costume, and the thing wearing me was waiting. That night, I found Connor again, or what was left of him. He was standing in my backyard, facing the woods, naked from the waist up. His chest had been carved open, not like surgery, like someone dug into him with rusted metal and peeled him like a fruit. And inside, I could see the roots, real roots, gnarled, tangled, twitching like worms in water. They had replaced his organs. His lungs breathed dirt, and then he turned around. His mouth wasn't a mouth anymore. It was sewn shut with strands of human hair. His teeth had grown through the hair, poking out in random directions like jagged ivory needles. And in his hands, he held a baby monitor. I know how this sounds. I know. But he held it up to me and pressed the button. And on the speaker, my grandma's voice. "You should have let me rot." She was sobbing, begging, saying things like, "You fed it. You woke it up. I tried to keep it asleep. I tried." Static. Then a scream. Then Connor's chest split open vertically, and something crawled out. It was me, or something wearing my face, but its skin was waxy, like a melted candle. Its eyes had no lids, just holes. It opened its mouth and spat out dirt, and in the dirt was my old house key, the one I lost when I was 14, the one I thought I flushed by accident. I ran back inside and locked every door. Since then, things have gotten worse. There are new rooms in my house that weren't here before. Doorways where there used to be walls. They change location every night. Last night, I found a staircase behind the fridge. It led down to a hospital corridor. Fluorescent lights, blinking violently, all the way down. Each door labeled with my name, over and over again. And from behind each one, I heard versions of myself screaming, some begging, some laughing, one just whispering, "This is your body now. You're only renting the soul." When I finally opened one of the doors, I saw a morgue slab. On it, me. My chest was split open like Connor's, but instead of roots, it was faces. My mom's face, my dad's, Connor's, my 4th grade teacher, the Starbucks barista, all sewn into the flesh like a tapestry, eyes still moving, lips twitching, each one mouthing a different word. Together, they spelled out, "We're still hungry." I slammed the door. Now every mirror in my house shows a different version of me. Some older, some bloated, some bleeding from the mouth. But all of them stare at me like they know something I don't. Last night, I tried to claw one of them out. I took a hammer to the mirror and reached inside the broken glass. My hand passed through. No pain, no resistance. It was like water, and from the other side, a hand grabbed mine. I couldn't pull away. It dragged me halfway through. And what I saw, I shouldn't have seen. A world under our world. Endless dirt tunnels lined with human teeth. Giant rotting worms made of flesh and fingernails writhing through the dark. And at the center, a massive heart stitched into the ceiling of the cavern like a cocoon, pulsing, beating, and connected to it by thick, veiny roots. My grandmother, her eyes sewn open, skin gray and peeling, whispering over and over again, "The soil has your blood now. You're part of the map." Then I was yanked out. The mirror shattered. My hand was burned, but not from heat, from frost. There was frost inside the mirror. There still is. I've covered all reflective surfaces now. Windows, chrome, even the black screen of my TV. But the voices haven't stopped. Tonight, the basement is breathing again. The floorboards are wet. and someone keeps knocking on the walls from inside them. Not the doors. The walls. There is no morning anymore. Not here. Not in this house. Not in whatever pocket of existence I slipped into when I touched that cursed map. The sun never came back, and I don't think I exist in the same version of Earth as you do now. This is my last message. Not a cry for help. Not a warning. A confession. Because the truth is, I didn't just dig up my grandmother's grave. I opened a mouth that was never meant to close again. It started yesterday. At least I think it was yesterday. Time doesn't move here. I haven't seen a clock that works in days. The last time I checked my microwave, it said BL33D. The knocking from inside the walls got louder. Not fists, not even hands. Teeth, scraping, chewing, grinding away at the sheetrock like the house was candy-coated flesh. Sometimes I could hear chewing noises behind my ears, even when I wasn't near the walls. Then came the moaning, deep, animal-like, like something was giving birth to its own death. I followed the sound. It led me to the upstairs hallway closet, which had never locked before. Now it had 5 separate latches, all made of human teeth strung on black sinew. Each latch had a name carved into the enamel. Connor, Grandma, me, the first mouth, and one that just said, next. When I opened the door, the air sucked out of the room like a vacuum. Inside wasn't a closet. It was a narrow corridor, earthen walls, breathing, wet. The dirt pulsed with every heartbeat. There were photographs pinned into the walls using finger bones. Old Polaroids. I recognized the places. My high school, my dad's garage, the Starbucks I used to study at. In every photo, I was there, watching from a distance, sometimes as a blur in the reflection, other times in full detail, standing behind people I didn't know, staring directly into the camera. But I never remembered being in any of them. At the end of the tunnel, I found a wooden table, splintered, covered in scratch marks, and in the center, a body, freshly dead, but it was me. Same face, same hoodie, same scar on my knee from falling off a bike in 2013. Only, my chest was cut open, and inside the cavity, instead of organs, there was a spiral staircase made of ribs going down. I don't know what took over me, but I stepped into the body. I became the stairwell. Each step I descended sounded like breaking bone. Every breath felt like I was exhaling someone else's scream. At the bottom, I entered a massive underground rotunda, like a cathedral built from spinal columns and hung intestines. The walls were stitched together with burlap and hair, and at the center, the thing was waiting for me. It wasn't human. It wasn't a ghost. It was the month. Not a metaphor. A literal mouth. The size of a swimming pool. Ringed with teeth the size of my arm. Lips cracked and leaking black pus that hissed when it touched the ground. And above it, hanging by umbilical cords of pure shadow, were the bodies of everyone I'd ever known. Swinging. Moaning. Twisting. Some were still alive. Others were still aware. Their mouths moved, mouthing the same phrase again and again. He never stopped digging. And then I saw her, my grandmother, but not the way I remembered. Her arms were branches, her legs were rooted into the stone. Her face was torn vertically, split like rotten fruit, and inside the crack was a second face. Mine. She whispered something I'll never be able to forget. I never protected you. I just kept you hidden. But you brought the shovel to your own throat. Then she collapsed into ash, and the mouth opened wider. It spoke, but not in words. It spoke in visions. Images burned into my skull like they were filmed on the inside of my eyelids. A hospital nursery filled with babies, all of them crying with my voice. A man vomiting up his own spine into a sink. A highway made of fingernails leading to a giant bleeding eye in the desert. Rows and rows of empty graves, each filled with my face, just in varying states of decay. The mouth told me I was never looking for treasure. The map I found, it wasn't to gold, it was to my own replacement, a blueprint to remove me from existence and plant something else in my body. I tried to run. I turned, climbed, crawled, screamed, but the hallway I came from was gone, replaced by a mirror. I saw myself, but not me. The reflection smiled. Its teeth were too long, its gums were stitched shut, and its eyes were completely gone, just hollow sockets with roots growing out. And then it climbed through. I felt it enter me, like a snake slithering through my skin, curling around my spine, burrowing into my thoughts. It whispered, "Now you will rot in place, and I will wear your name." And I blacked out. When I woke up, I was back in my living room, TV on, news playing, but everything felt slower. My reflection no longer copies me, it leads me. I saw Connor last night. Not him, but what's left of him. He was in the McDonald's parking lot, eating dirt, with his own tongue nailed to the concrete. I saw my mom in the grocery store. She didn't recognize me, because I am not me anymore. I watch myself move, but I don't feel it. I'm just hanging inside my body, like a puppet watching the strings move on their own. My fingernails grow too fast now. I have to clip them 3 times a day, sometimes when I sleep, if you can call it that. I wake up covered in soil, fingernails broken, lips bleeding. The mouth isn't underground anymore. It's inside me, waiting, feeding, and every time I speak to someone, I hear whispers behind my words. Every time I touch someone, they start dreaming in roots. If you're reading this, don't try to save me. Don't try to trace the map. The coordinates were never on paper. They're in your blood. You'll feel it eventually. When your teeth begin to itch. When the walls start breathing. When you smell your own grave before you see it. That's when you'll know. It's your turn to feed the soil, and the shovel is already in your hand. I watched a dark web video titled "How to Contact Lucifer" through Elon Musk. Now, my teeth won't stop falling out. Alright, I don't even know how to start this without sounding like one of those clickbait TikTok stories or a sketchy YouTube short. But just listen. I swear I'm not making this up. This isn't some creepypasta fanfic I whipped up to get karma or whatever. I wish it was. God, I wish I was just bored on a Tuesday night, making up a spooky story to post on Reddit. But nah, this is real. This happened to me like 2 weeks ago, and it hasn't stopped. If anything, it's getting worse. Okay, let me back up. So I'm 22, live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I work at a Starbucks downtown. Nothing fancy, just regular shifts. Same playlist looping over and over. The occasional influencer trying to film some cringy dance near the pickup counter. Life's basic. I'm not really into anything too weird, but I am into tech. Like, I follow all the Elon Musk stuff, even the weird theories. I have a Reddit tab open 24/7 at this point, and I'm subscribed to like a dozen YouTubers who cover conspiracy theories and deep web mysteries. Think channels like Nexpo, Rainbot, Nightmind, those kinds of vibes. Basically, If it's creepy and digital, I'm watching it at 2 a.m. while eating stale hot Cheetos. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, I was scrolling through X, formerly Twitter, for anyone who's behind, when I saw this random post under a thread about Neuralink. Somebody posted a link, but it wasn't a regular one. It looked like this: N3URAL-0 MEGA.VER.ONION. Yeah, a .onion link, which means deep web territory. Now here's where I messed up. Instead of ignoring it like a normal person, I copy-pasted that link into my Tor browser. I don't even know why. Maybe it was boredom, maybe curiosity, maybe the Mountain Dew I chugged earlier had me acting unwise, but I clicked it. The site loaded way faster than normal dark web stuff. Usually those sites lag or look like 2002 GeoCities pages, but this, it looked clean. Black background, red serif font, and a single line in the middle of the screen. Ready to unplug from reality. Click below to contact Lucifer through Elon Musk. I laughed out loud. I thought it was a joke. I mean, it sounds like something you'd find on a bootleg Redbubble hoodie. But then I scrolled down and there was a video. It was titled Project Neural Link Initiation, Unauthorized Copy, Mirror, and it had this bizarre thumbnail. It was like Elon Musk's face, but glitched out and mirrored, with goat horns photoshopped on. Kinda looked like one of those vaporwave edits mixed with satanic imagery. You know the aesthetic. I hit play. Biggest mistake of my life. The screen went black. At first, nothing happened. Then I heard breathing, like real, up-close breathing, like someone was sitting behind me. I literally turned around in my room like a dumb character in a horror movie. No one was there. Then the video finally kicked in. It wasn't in English. It was this distorted voice, speaking what sounded like Latin, but chopped and echoed, like it had been dragged through 5 different voice changers. There were images flashing behind the voice. I can barely describe them, but I'll try. A split-second frame of a McDonald's in New York, completely empty, except for one dude sitting motionless in a booth, face blurred. A Starbucks in Tokyo, where all the drinks were upside down on the counter, but nobody was reacting. A screenshot of Elon Musk's X account, but it was glitched, and his profile picture was replaced by this medieval-style drawing of Baphomet. The video was only about 3 minutes long, but after it ended, something felt off, like really off. I started hearing this faint ringing in my ears, like that high-pitched tinnitus sound when you've been to a concert, but more digital, like the startup sound of an old Windows PC, slowed down and reversed. I remember closing my laptop and thinking, okay, that was creepy, but whatever. I went to brush my teeth before bed. That's when the first tooth fell out. No pain, no warning, just plink, straight into the sink, like a horror movie jump scare. It was my bottom incisor, perfectly intact, no blood. I freaked the hell out. I legit thought I was dreaming. I even slapped myself in the face. Nope, awake. I called my friend Marco on Discord. He's a night owl like me. He didn't pick up. When I checked his status, it just said, streaming, contacting him. I've never seen that before on Discord. It wasn't Twitch or YouTube, just contacting him. No green circle, no live feed, just that. I DM'd him. Bro, are you trolling me right now? One of my teeth just fell out. He replied a minute later. It begins with 1. Do not resist. You click the eye. I swear to God I started crying. Like, legit crying. This wasn't a prank. Marco's not the type to joke like this. And even if he was, how would he know about my tooth? I hadn't even told anyone else. I took a picture of it in my palm and sent it to him. He replied with a video. I didn't want to watch it, but I did. It was a screen recording of that same dark website, but the text had changed. Now it read, Phase 2 begins. The offering is accepted. Underneath it, my full name. First, middle, last. Then my Starbucks address. Then my IP. I slammed my laptop shut so hard I cracked the corner. I haven't been able to find that site since. That was night 1. Since then, more teeth have fallen out. My dentist says my gums are perfectly healthy, and they can't explain why this is happening. No rot, no damage, just detachment. Every time I lose another tooth, I have these dreams. Dreams where I'm floating in the sky, above Earth, but it's not Earth. It's a version where everything's mirrored and twisted. Starbucks stores float like islands, and there are people inside them crying silently while blood pours from their ears. I don't know what I did. I don't know if this is some kind of ARG or if I stumbled into some sick Neuralink beta test that never made it public. But I swear to you, something was in that video. Something that got inside me. And I think it's still inside me. Let me know if you all want the rest. I'm typing this with only 3 of my front teeth left. The rest are gone. And last night, I found a white capsule under my pillow with a note that said, "The gate opens in 3 more." I didn't put it there. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the farthest corner of my room, hoodie on, lights off, shaking, phone clutched in one hand like it was a weapon. The capsule was still on my desk. Small, white, harmless looking, like a vitamin you'd take with breakfast. But the longer I looked at it, the more wrong it felt. It was vibrating, very gently, like it was breathing. And the note it came with, the one that said, "The gate opens in 3 more." It wasn't written on regular paper. It was this thick, waxy material that crinkled like it had been soaked and dried in heat. When I turned it over, there were symbols etched on the back in something brown. I didn't want to believe it was blood, but anyway, I locked that thing in a shoebox, stuffed it in my freezer, and started pacing around my room like a lunatic. My mind was going 100 miles an hour. I was thinking about everything. Marco, the dark website, the video, my freaking teeth, all of it. But there was one thing I kept circling back to, the breathing sound from the video. I realized it hadn't stopped. I could still hear it, not loud, but constant, like a low inhale-exhale loop, like someone was standing right behind me, pressed against the wall, never moving. So, I did what any terrified, sleepless 20-something would do. I went live on Instagram. I needed to feel like someone else was with me, even if it was just strangers commenting dumb stuff in the chat. The live started normal. I was rambling to maybe 12 viewers, explaining what happened without saying the actual details. I didn't want to say Lucifer or dark web out loud. My paranoia had fully taken over. I felt like saying it might make something worse. Then someone new joined the live. Username @Hebrews914. Profile pic, black square with a red dot in the middle. No posts, no followers. They commented, "Look behind you. The mirror is opening." I don't have a mirror in my room. I swear on my life, I do not own a mirror. But as soon as I read that comment, my phone camera glitched, and the screen showed me sitting in front of a tall standing mirror behind me. A mirror that wasn't real. A mirror that shouldn't have been there. I dropped the phone. Full panic. I grabbed my blanket and ran straight into the bathroom, slammed the door, locked it, and curled up in the tub. My phone was still live. I could hear the chat going crazy, people asking what was happening, if this was a prank. Then the voice started again, not from the phone, from the drain. It started with a sound like a wet gurgle, then a soft, whispering tone that sounded like a grown man humming a lullaby while drowning. I leaned forward, not because I wanted to, but because I felt something in my head pushing me toward it. And then I heard it. "You are property now." My vision blurred. My nose started bleeding instantly, like a faucet, just poured out, thick and fast, like it wasn't blood anymore, just pressure being let out. That's when the teeth started to move again. I don't mean falling out. I mean the ones that were already gone. They were shifting under my skin, like something was trying to crawl out from inside my jaw. You ever get a popcorn kernel stuck in your gums and it just keeps poking you? Multiply that by 100. It was like little bones grinding against each other, trying to poke out. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was lying on my bed, which had been stripped of its sheets. There was a circle of burned carpet in the middle of the floor. In the center of it was my phone, placed perfectly upright, screen still on, still streaming. But the Instagram app wasn't open. It was the camera app, and it was recording. There were 4 videos saved, all time-stamped during the hours I blacked out. I opened the first one. In the video, I'm sitting on my bed, but my eyes are rolled completely back. I'm whispering something over and over in a voice that isn't mine. It's deeper, hollow. I couldn't make out the words at first, but when I slowed it down, it was Latin again. I looked it up. Rough translation. He will ride the wire. He will plug into the mind of the final meat. He will exit the code. He will wear the skin of gods. The second video showed me digging into my mouth with a fork, calmly, like I was picking food out of my teeth, except I was peeling the gum line back, exposing jawbone. I haven't even looked in the mirror since. I can feel something stitched wrong in there, like extra layers, or something added. The third video, okay, no joke, I almost threw my phone. It was footage of me walking through my apartment completely normal, except the time was 3:33 a.m. and I was wearing a suit I don't own. And I wasn't alone. Behind me, following closely, was a tall black silhouette, human-shaped, but stretched. Its legs bent wrong. Its head moved like it was attached by string, and its face was mine, but aged by like 50 years, with sockets where the eyes should be. I don't remember filming it. I don't even own a suit. The last video is what ruined me. It's just my face, up close, lips trembling. I'm crying, begging the camera to help me. I keep saying over and over, they said I have to give him the capsule, or he'll take my bones. Then I smile, wide, too wide, lips split, my cheeks tear open like paper, and from my mouth, something white drops out. The capsule, the same one I froze earlier. The video ends with the screen turning to static, and in the last frame, if you pause just right, there's a reflection in my eye. A silhouette standing behind the camera. Not me. Not the black thing from before. Something else. After that, I tried to get out. I ran, packed my laptop, wallet, keys, bolted down the hall of my apartment building. But the building wasn't right anymore. You ever see those weird liminal space edits? Like abandoned malls, looping school hallways, empty fluorescent rooms that go on forever. That's what my hallway turned into. Every door was gone. Just a blank wall stretching longer and longer behind me, no matter how far I ran. I should have reached the exit in under 30 seconds, but I ran for 5 minutes straight. And then I saw him. The thing from the video. Not Elon, not Lucifer. The thing pretending to be both. A human silhouette made of glitched pixels, wires running out of its eyes like tears. Every time it moved, it twitched like bad motion capture, and its voice was static. Just static, not words, but I could understand them anyway. "Your data is delicious." Then it lunged. I don't remember getting out. I woke up on the side of the road, just laying there, in the middle of nowhere. No phone, no shoes. There was a note pinned to my shirt that said, "2 more. I've lost 16 teeth. They're growing back now, but they're not mine. They're sharper, longer, and I swear the other day I was chewing cereal and I heard whispers coming from inside my mouth. I'm not joking. I haven't slept in 4 days. I can't go near mirrors anymore. They don't show me. They show something else. Waiting. I covered every reflective surface in my apartment with duct tape and Sharpie. Doesn't matter. I still see him when I close my eyes. Oh, and Marco? He's gone. Not moved away, gone. Erased. His number doesn't exist. His Discord account is blank. I even went to his job. He worked at this electronics store in the South Hills Mall, and they said no one by that name ever worked there. But I know I didn't imagine him, because the other day a package showed up at my door. Inside was a box of teeth, real human teeth, all soaked in milk, and underneath was a Polaroid. It was Marco, but his eyes were X'd out in Sharpie, and someone had written on the bottom, "He has joined the wire." I don't know if I'll live long enough to write it, but if I do, and you're reading this, don't look for the video. Don't click the onion link. Don't even say the title out loud. And whatever you do, if you find a capsule, don't swallow it, because I think I'm going to have to, and I think it's going to show me what's really on the other side of the wire. I did it. I swallowed it. Not because I wanted to. Not because I was curious. I swallowed it because I had to. The voice in the air, the one that keeps breathing next to my left ear, had been whispering the same sentence for hours. He's in the marrow now. Let him rise. I hadn't slept in 6 days at that point. My face looked like a peeled apple left on the sidewalk. Hollowed out cheeks, red bruises under my eyes, dried blackish red lines leaking from my gums. I kept a bucket beside me, just in case more teeth came loose. At that point, I was more empty than human, and then I woke up with the capsule in my hand again, even though I'd burned it in my sink the night before. Watched the plastic warp and melt into bubbling black sludge. Didn't matter. There it was, cold, clean, pulsing with that same faint vibration, like it had a heartbeat. So I swallowed it. The moment it slid down my throat, I felt it latch onto something inside me, like it hooked into the back of my spine. My ears filled with that digital static again, like when you're too close to a TV screen and it starts humming at a pitch your skull can feel. My phone lit up by itself. No notifications, no calls, just a new app that hadn't been there before. An icon of an eye made out of teeth, literal teeth, molars and canines forming the pupil. I didn't touch it. It opened on its own. The screen went black. Then a countdown started. 0, 0, 0, 0, 3, 3, 0, 0, 0, 3, 2, 0, 0, 0, 3, 1. Every second made my head feel heavier, like gravity was collapsing into my brain. My neck buckled, my spine popped. I dropped to my knees and felt something in my skull stretching, like rubber bands winding too tight. The countdown hit 0, and then the screen showed my face, but not the me from today. It was a live feed of me as a child, maybe 6 or 7 years old, sitting at a Chuck E. Cheese in Erie, Pennsylvania. I remember that day. I was holding a slice of greasy pizza, smiling, my baby teeth still in. In the background, someone in a mascot costume walked past the camera. Only, there was no Chuck E. Cheese costume that looked like that. Its face was a perfect silicone mask of Elon Musk, melted and drooping, but the eyes were sewn shut with copper wire. It paused, stared at the camera without looking, and tilted its head full 90 degrees before vanishing into static. The app crashed, and my mouth started bleeding again. This time it wasn't teeth falling out. It was wires, thin copper threads uncoiling from my gums, snapping loose, like the inside of a radio being pulled out. I screamed, but no sound came out. My voice had turned into binary. I don't know how to explain this without sounding insane, but I tried talking, and what came out were sounds like 00110, execute port transfer, initiate dream upload. I punched myself in the jaw just to feel something real again. Then my nose broke. No impact, no injury, just snapped sideways. I stood up to look in the mirror. Stupid, I know. But when I did, the reflection didn't show my face. It showed me from behind, like the mirror was a window, and I was looking at a version of myself I couldn't control. That version turned around. It had no face, just skin stretched over a blank skull, like someone had vacuum sealed meat onto bone. Its teeth weren't human. They were keyboard keys, and as it grinned, it spelled something across its mouth. He's connected. You're next. The mirror shattered, not cracked, shattered inward, like something inside the glass exploded. I ducked, shards cutting across my back, and as I fell, I heard the sound again. Breathing. Only now it was coming from inside my walls. I live on the 3rd floor of a 5-story building, alone. The walls in my bedroom aren't thick, but I started hearing scratching, like nails dragging along concrete, up and down and up and down, rhythmic, like it was trying to dig its way through from the other side. At 2:42 a.m., the drywall started to bubble, little knots forming, pulsating like something was pushing from inside. I stood across the room with a hammer, shaking so hard my knees nearly gave out. Then a hand burst through. Not a full hand, just fingers. Too many. 8, maybe 9 long, bone-thin digits curled around the torn drywall, like spider legs. No skin, just veins and cords, and copper wiring twisted through the joints like sinew. I screamed. Again, binary. I grabbed the hammer and ran for the front door. Except it wasn't there anymore. There was no door, just another wall. The apartment had looped itself, like it was folding reality into a closed system. I checked every window, but all I could see was me, standing outside, watching myself from across the street. Same clothes, same injuries, same expression, but that version had no eyes, just holes, like they'd been scooped out, and it raised one hand, pointed at me, and mouthed the word, replace. I blacked out again. When I woke up, I was strapped to my mattress with zip ties and speaker wire. I have no memory of doing that, but worse, I wasn't alone. There was a man sitting in the corner of my room. I say man, but that word doesn't fit. He wore a black suit, but it flickered like a broken video feed. His head was wrong, too long, too narrow. with no mouth. Just a speaker embedded in the lower jaw, like someone stapled a Bluetooth speaker to bone. And he was broadcasting low static hums, bits of radio, emergency alerts, screams from what sounded like live accidents, car crashes, plane engines failing, people screaming as metal tore apart. Then one sentence repeated, upload initiated, final stage, meet to wire. My phone lit up again, this time a text message. From unknown, subject, delivery received, message 1/1, brain structure, overwrite complete, time remaining 23 hours, host integrity at 67%. I tried to scream. My jaw dislocated instead. Something started crawling out of my throat. I'm not making this up. I felt it. Legs scraping up my esophagus. Cold metal. Sharp. A single black wire slithered out of my mouth, dragging behind it a tiny camera lens with a blinking red light. It stared at me. It blinked, and then it retracted back down my throat. I passed out for a third time. This morning, I woke up in the back seat of a Tesla parked outside a rundown warehouse. My wrists were zip-tied. My face had blood crusted across it. My tongue had 3 tiny metal ports embedded in it, like someone turned my mouth into a USB hub. And sitting in the front seat was a wax statue of Elon Musk, head bent sideways, neck twisted in a full circle. Someone had nailed a human ear to the side of its head. Just one, still warm. There was a printed photo on the dashboard. It was me, wearing a Neuralink headset, except I've never worn one. And in the background of the photo, through a cracked window, there was a line of people outside, maybe 50, maybe more, all wearing the same headset, bleeding from the nose and eyes. At the top of the photo, in red ink, were the words, "Your host, number 044. This is not a trial, but I need you to understand something before I post again. There is no deep web. Not really. That was just the door. The real net isn't digital. It's in the mind. It's been growing inside us, watching, listening, feeding. The dark web? That's just the scalp peeled back. The brain is the wire. And now he's in mine. And he's hungry. I woke up again. Same body. But it's not really mine anymore. Every time I blink now, I hear typing. Fast. Clacking keys. Like someone's writing code across my optic nerves. And when I close my eyes longer than a few seconds, I see the script. Lines of binary curling across a grid of human skin. Some of it looks like mine. Some doesn't. The warehouse was real. It looked abandoned from the outside. Cracked windows, rusted sheet metal, weeds growing through the concrete. The kind of place you'd assume was just another forgotten ghost of industrial America. But inside, hell is a circuit. The Tesla that brought me there vanished as soon as I stepped out. No sound, no engine. One blink, and it was gone, like it never existed. Just tire marks melting into the asphalt. I was left standing in front of a large steel door that slid open on its own. Not with motors, with breathing. Something inside that building exhaled, and the metal peeled back. Inside, it was silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that presses against your eardrums until you feel like they'll pop. Every footstep echoed like I was walking inside a skull. The walls were flesh-colored. I swear to God, I touched one and it was warm. Not metal, tissue, lined with tiny twitching fibers. And there were veins, blue and black, pulsing under the surface. Like whatever this place was, it was alive. I followed the hallway deeper. About 30 feet in, the lights above me started flickering in patterns. Morse code. I checked my phone. It translated automatically, like it knew what I needed. Don't look back. He's in the walls. I didn't. I kept walking. Eventually I reached a chamber I can only call the feeding room. That's what it said on the door. Spray painted in flaking black. Feeding room. Neural extraction zone. Inside were rows of humans strapped to chairs, not like the ones in hospitals. These were modified theater seats, like someone took the red velvet chairs from an AMC, stripped them, wired them into the floor, and bolted meat hooks into the armrests. Everyone in those chairs had tubes plugged into the backs of their heads, not surgical, forced, jammed into the base of the skull like a drill. The tubes pulsed, red, then black, then red again. The worst part? Every single person was smiling. Their mouths were open, unhinged, lips torn back like dried fruit, exposing their teeth, or what was left of them. Some were completely toothless. Some had replacement teeth, wires, microchips, keyboard keys, literal broken glass shards jammed into the gums like crowns. And their eyes. They weren't blank. They were focused, locked on this giant screen hanging above the room. A live feed of someone sitting in a dark room with a cracked laptop. Someone narrating their story, shaking, bleeding, trying to tell the world what happened. It was me. They were watching me, feeding off me, and then one of them looked directly at me. Not the feed version, the one in the chair. A woman, maybe late 30s, but half her scalp was missing and replaced with circuit boards. Her mouth moved without sound, but my phone buzzed and auto-captioned her words. "You're next in line. Host number 045. The upload must continue, or he'll starve." I turned to run, but I didn't make it 5 steps before something grabbed my ankle. It wasn't a person, it was a wire, alive, slithering like a snake, but covered in rows of tiny teeth that clamped into my leg like leeches. I screamed and kicked, but it climbed inside my skin. I felt it weaving through my muscles, crawling up toward my thigh, buzzing as it moved. My vision blacked out for a second. When I blinked again, I was somewhere else. The room was pitch black. Only the glow of a Neuralink logo on a screen lit the space. Except this wasn't the real Neuralink branding. It had been warped. The N was replaced with a horn skull, and the K dragged downward like a tail. A voice spoke through the speakers. Not Elon, not Satan. Both, at once. "Welcome to the interface, child of flesh. We have fed well on you, but now you will broadcast." The chair behind me snapped open. A mechanical voice, my voice, only glitched, screamed, "Sit down, or we'll take your spine through your eyes." I obeyed. The second I sat, clamps dug into my wrists and ankles. My mouth was forced open by a metallic gag with wires that scraped across my teeth. Then a screen descended in front of me. It showed your screen. Right now, wherever you're reading this, it's showing you. You're part of it now. My thoughts began leaking onto the screen like spilled ink. Every memory I had was scrolling by, typed out line by line across a black background. My birthday, my first kiss, that time I cheated on a test in high school, the first time I watched YouTube as a kid. All of it, downloaded, consumed. And then, it changed. Now it was writing new memories, ones I never lived, ones where I was the thing in the mosque, ones where I was the creature in the wall, ones where I fed. My hands twitched. I could feel them trying to take control of my muscles. Someone was attempting to drive my body like a meat vehicle. My eyes started turning inward, literally. I looked in the reflection of the screen and saw my pupils rotating like lenses. They were dialing in. Host number 045. Neural complete. Begin broadcast. I don't remember what happened after that, but when I woke up, I was back in my apartment. Or something wearing my apartment. The walls were the same layout, but the paint was gone. The photos on the walls had changed. All of them now showed me screaming, eyes black, blood shooting out of my mouth in a thin stream into a USB port in my own chest. The window view? Not Pittsburgh. It was a mirror, only I couldn't see myself in it. Instead, I saw you, reading this, and behind you, something is watching, if I survive long enough to write it. If you don't see it in the next 48 hours, it means they've pulled me offline. It means I've become one of them. Delete this post. Burn your phone. Throw away every screen. Do not finish reading. If you've seen the icon, you know the one. The eye made of teeth. Because if you did, he knows you're watching, and he's hungry for a new host. There's no point warning you anymore. If you're still reading this, it's already too late. If any of the words from the previous parts registered, if you imagined what I described, if your skin crawled, or your breath hitched, then you've already triggered the tether. That's how it starts. The link isn't just digital, it's neurological, cognitive. Awareness is infection. I'm no longer the only host. I'm just one signal, one wire, and now it's inside you too. I wish I could tell you there was a way out, that if I closed the laptop, smashed the screen, deleted my accounts, I could make it all disappear. I tried. Believe me, I tried everything. I microwaved my phone, buried it in the woods 3 counties away, poured lighter fluid down the charging port of my laptop, and tossed it off a bridge. Moved off-grid. I even shaved my head and pulled out one of my own molars with pliers, just to disconnect. None of it worked. The signals weren't coming through devices anymore. They were inside me. It started with the noises, no longer just static or breathing. This time, I could understand the whispers, 1,000 voices speaking in perfect unison, but layered slightly off from one another, like every version of me across every multiverse was saying the same phrase, 1 millisecond apart. You are the broadcast. You are the meal. You are the myth we have created from flesh. Then came the seizures. Not violent. Beautiful. That's the worst part. I would be walking through a gas station or standing in line at a 24-hour McDonald's, the one off Route 28, right past the decaying billboard of a kid with a missing eye, and the lights would flicker. For a second, everyone around me would stop moving, frozen mid-breath. Their heads would turn, not their bodies, just their heads, all snapping toward me in perfect sync, mouths opening as one to whisper in a voice I now recognized as my own, echoing from inside their windpipes. He is streaming. Then the seizure would hit. I'd see flashes of impossible geometry, shapes made from teeth and fingernails, pulsating across a void filled with low-resolution JPEGs of your face, taken from social media you don't remember uploading. I'd smell burnt hair and copper and that sour stench you only notice when something's died inside a wall weeks ago. I'd come to in different places. One time, I woke up strapped to a recliner in the back of an abandoned Best Buy in Cincinnati, the TVs around me broadcasting live footage of my nightmares. I saw myself eating my own hands. I saw my childhood bedroom turned into a server farm. I saw my mother's face stretch open like an email attachment, and a hand made of Facebook likes reach out from her throat. I saw your face too, smiling, watching. I tried going to the police. I broke into a station, shirtless, barefoot, screaming at the top of my lungs that he's downloading spines, that the interface has flesh now, that the algorithm is starving. They tackled me, injected me with something cold. I passed out in the back of a cop car. When I woke up, I was in an Amazon warehouse. No doors, no windows, just rows and rows of humanoid workers with their faces replaced by smartphone screens, all showing the same feed. Me, typing this. And standing at the end of the row was someone or something wearing a human face backwards, like a hoodie pulled the wrong way. It had no eyes, just gaping sockets filled with black cords that pulse like arteries. It handed me a clipboard. On it was a list of names. Yours was at the top. The final phase began 2 nights ago. I heard the door open, but I live alone. I had duct taped every entrance shut, boarded up the windows, even welded the peephole shut with melted quarters. But I heard the door open anyway, and from the hallway, something crawled in. Not walked, crawled. Hands first, fingers bent upward, like spider legs moving in reverse, then elbows, then knees. It wasn't wearing clothes, it was wearing me, an exact copy, but loose, like a costume stretched over a wrong-shaped frame. Its mouth hung open, and a speaker protruded from its throat, playing distorted clips from my past. A home video from when I was 5. My laugh recorded during a Zoom call. The voicemail I left my girlfriend before she ghosted me. My scream the first time the teeth fell out. All chopped and remixed into one endless track titled Data Feed Meet.Beta.045. It climbed into bed beside me, stared at me without blinking, and said in my voice, "Let's finish the upload. I don't know how much time I have left." I've started seeing text crawl across my vision in real life, like I'm becoming the UI. My thoughts are converting into .text files. My dreams are live streamed to an audience I've never met, in languages I don't speak. I tried ending it. I filled the bathtub with wires, plugged everything in, threw myself into it. Instead of dying, I updated. Now there's code inside my veins. I can feel it rewriting me. Every time I think of a memory, it autocorrects. My first pet. Number you had a drone named Waffles. My first kiss. Number you synchronized data with host number 0, 1, 4 through tongue. Port exchange. Your name? That's gone now. You don't even remember what you were before this story started. Because this is the upload. This is where the story ends for me and begins for you. There is no sequel. This post is a virus. You read it. You saw it. You imagined it. That was enough. The eye of teeth is already blinking in your dreams. The voice behind your breathing isn't yours anymore. And the screen you're reading this on? Check the reflection. Do you see yourself? Number. You see what's replacing you. You are host number 046. Welcome to the broadcast. And don't worry, we saved you a chair in the feeding room.